Oh, I remember this.
And of course, there was that other response to the Sekiro mod, the one that became, well, memed overnight. One so arrogant it could only be read by an aristocrat, a literal aristocrat.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Sorry, folks. Here we go.
You cheated not only the game, but yourself. You didn't grow. You didn't improve. You took a shortcut and gained nothing. You experienced a hollow victory. Nothing was risked.
Which is weird. If you were to isolate this quote as just text and present it to me, and I'm like, huh, yeah, I suppose so. If there's no risk involved and you didn't gain anything, there was no challenge you overcome, then it is a hollow victory. Like it isn't even a victory.
So this is
like something I'd hear Socrates saying.
It's totally.
And he's like, ooh.
It's tone policing, really, because the point is kind of true. It's just delivered in a way that's really kind of pretentious. Just kind of.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. It's like it's mainly the approach the guy took, unfortunately. But like, this is a real thing. If someone flew to the top of Everest in like a hyper-safe, hyper-technological thing, and then said, "I climbed Everest," don't you know? It's like, yeah, no, not really.
No, I feel like the guy who did it without legs, and granted, his legs didn't get tired, but still, the guy who did it without legs, he could see, when he gets to the top of that mountain, I think his victory is a bit more meaningful than yours. Someone in chat said it. It's saying something in a funny voice doesn't make it false. That's true, but unfortunately, I think a lot of people think that. Yeah,
he's gonna milk this for all it's worth, because it's like, look, let's all laugh at the guy saying that difficulty matters when it's like, you took one of the memed ones. You're not really taking the argument here.
But he doesn't know what these people even want.
Well, he said that himself.
And nothing was gained. It's sad that you don't know the difference. Royston! I just roasted me a soy boy casual neckbeard. He doesn't know the value of hard work. Now feed me.
What do you say?
I wanted to end.
He's about to imply that the aristocrat is rich because he was given money, not because he earned.
An end to skits. No more skits in videos, please.
No, I'm pro nostalgia critic skits. That shit is
mainly because they're fascinating. That
is fascinating. Yeah. I love those skits. I want to put them in a museum.
That's another tradition.
I want to load it onto our Odyssey probe and send it into space.
We've almost got a tradition now of covering nostalgia critic every 31st as well of Halloween, October. So maybe we'll cover them again soon enough.
Dangling from your hand.
Banging these nuts.
Nice.
Bear in mind, this was a mod for personal use, not a demand for an easier mode to be added to the game.
He's just sitting there like, man, this is fascinating. Do go on.
I think the bear wasn't very convinced.
That bear was watching that skit and was like, yep, move on.
Stop.
The humans really have it better, I don't know.
So these people think that the people using this mod are experienced.
What did you say,
They think that they're making the game easier on themselves in a way that's making it less fun. I'm just like, this is so easy. People think that using this mod, by using it, you're ruining your own experience with the game.
Right. Which is something I think nobody wants to talk about because it only would have happened with your choice, and everyone is more so, generally speaking, in favor of everyone making their own choices. But it's like, sure, but if someone says, I don't want to eat this really well executed steak without my big bucket of tomato sauce on it, and it's like, oh, maybe, yeah, okay.
I guess maybe an example in video games would be, hey, this is applicable to me, right? I beat Dark Souls 3 in like 13, 14 hours, and all I heard from people was you missed a lot of the game. You missed out on a lot of the experience.
Yeah.
Like they want you to have more of an experience. They're like sad that you didn't get to see it all in that first playthrough, or they're like, oh, you didn't play the game right.
I guess it's just the sentiment of, damn, you kind of robbed yourself of an experience that I think you would have thought was cool if you were just given it more time. You know, in the same way that if someone says, I beat Metroid by looking up all the guides, it's like, damn, man, like, damn, you missed out on, like, a lot of what the fun is in this game, or I beat this game by looking at all of the solutions.
Well, and that's the thing, there's no digging for the good faith in any of this by Jim, because ultimately, if you watch people streaming, let's take, for example, Metal streaming something where he's trying to defeat a good old Bloodborne boss of some kind, yes, we will make fun of and meme every time he dies, but the second he gets close to that health bar going to 0, and he does a clutch dodge and hits them with something that kills him, everyone in chat's very happy.
Woo,
why is that, do you think?
Good moment.
Because that means that Mel did all the things that everyone else had to do back when they first did it. Now we can all share in that experience. Meanwhile, when you have a guy who's like, this is too hard, I'm turning on the cheats, you're like, oh.
Oh, well.
I mean,
Whoa, dude, nice!
Yeah, who the and then, and then they beat it,
downloaded an exe file,
and they're like, right, everybody.
The proper mods folder.
Like, imagine you having a breakdown discussion of how difficult a boss is. Like, out of the 4 people, one of them beat it with cheats. The other 3 would be like, you can't really speak on this. He's like,
I can't even talk because he won't understand what's going on.
Yeah, you just be like, I just went face on him. I just kept hitting over and over again, and I just won. It's like, yeah, but you had infinite health. I got.
It was even
really
further than
cool.
the first try, because I'm
sure you had a lot of fun.
Because I will forever remember when I first fought Orphan of Cause, and people who know me a bit longer remember that 9-hour stream where I tried over and over and over, for 9 hours only Orphan of Cause.
When are you gonna beat him?
And I don't know. Oh, right, that was a meme. Yeah. Okay. and then I finally beat the guy. I was like, yeah, that was awesome. And then I did my playthrough New Game Plus 1, and then I beat the guy first try on my the second on my New Game Plus, and I was like, man, I remembered all those moves, and I absolutely didn't annihilate him. It was pretty clutch, but it was a very good time because I learned the thing, had all the experiences, and then it just took over to the New Game Plus as well, and was it's just a great experience to have, and you definitely do rob yourself from those experiences if you just turn on some cheats.
Yeah, like,
but I guess
what
if we only
just,
go
like,
with the argument, but it's fun, so it's fine. It's like, well, then we don't need to talk about this, really. So I don't know why you're even doing this.
Like, what if you could just, like, turn on the times
you've
10
optimized
everything?
the fun out of it, as far as I'm concerned.
Like, you do 10 times as much damage, you have 10 times as much health, and you beat him the pull after that. Like, you would never have remember that fight ever, like, 2 years later. You would just been like, oh wait,
because now I can just go back and I see a certain attack and it's like, oh, I need to go just below him and just do this because I had those experiences for hours. It's still super satisfying.
Main things I remember from Elden Ring now are Godskin Apostle, Malekith, and Melania, I guess.
Yeah.
I've mostly forgotten even the ones I've hated because my brain doesn't really want to latch onto that stuff, which is an ironic statement coming from me, considering like everything that fueled me to make my DS2 videos is how much I hated everything in that game. That's an example of like the bosses are really difficult, but when you beat them, you don't go yes, you just go.
Yeah, thanks. That is over.
Finally.
You're like Theoden dying on the plains. You're like, oh.
Yeah, but yeah.
It's like fuck this.
Someone solved their own problem. It was simply someone using modifications to make the game more personally enjoyable. You know, the thing that mods have existed to do since mods began.
I love that he's just not got the state of mind to be able to understand that
he doesn't get it.
The fun being pulled out in any way, shape, or form by any of this. There's just no concept of it. Like, nope, don't know what you're talking about.
Sees no distinction between an aftermarket mod and a development feature.
Demand, essentially.
It's a very good image, by the way. The helicopter
that is
hat
a lot of
is questionable as to whether or not it's real.
Is that a real hat?
Who's the dude in below you? Is there? He looks kind of creepy.
But this time, it was unacceptable, and it was unacceptable for no good reason. Because even if you think an easier mode in a game causes harm somehow, the writer who used the mod only quote-unquote harmed themselves.
That's the point.
Are you watching self-harm right now?
It's literally the point.
I don't understand. Like
it's literally exactly the point.
When someone says like, "Oh, it's worth seeing this in the cinema because of the experience," and you go, "No, I don't want that experience. I want to experience it with my way, which is going to be on this mobile phone upside down." And you're like, Okay, you can do that. I'm just saying. It's like, who's
you guys
harmed
haven't
really? Just
seen
himself.
The Departed.
Yeah.
You haven't really seen The Departed until you've watched it with the Mortal Kombat soundtrack playing. Trust me.
In this case, making a game they bought more finely tuned to their own sense of fun, which I can't even pretend to find upsetting. People get mad if a difficulty option already exists. They get mad if some people are put off when a game doesn't have an easy mode. They get mad if you don't just go and mod the game yourself.
I don't know, man. Like, generally speaking, everyone gets mad at everything. I don't know. Yeah, sure, fine.
It's
You'll find
weird how
someone.
different people have different responses to different things.
Oh,
Isn't that
Jim
really
is the
weird?
expert at finding the person that doesn't like the thing, and he could put it in his video.
Yeah, mysteriously, we just don't see these people. That's fine, though. I'm sure they exist.
They get mad if you do just go and mod the game yourself. It's almost as if the argument evolves so that nobody can win
it's not,
unless
no, it's
they...
not about modding the game yourself. It's about installing your cuckshit BS FBI division mods that just remove all challenge from the game. Yes, I know it's your preference, and guess what? Sometimes people's preferences suck, and I'll criticize you for it.
Achieve the nirvana.
That's what his whole. That's what we all do. Can we stop pretending that? It's just. That's what we all do, and people just want to act like, oh no, no, shut the fuck up. That's what you do. That's what you made your job doing.
Well, I think people do occasionally either forget or deliberately sort of ignore that people do often have like a perspective on the choices that people make. Even though there is a recognition that they are their own choices. And in this case, it's, yeah, you can choose to like make the game this way, but I think you're missing out. I think you're making a mistake.
Why can't we be honest about this? If Jim struggled on a game for a while and loved talking about that very difficulty choice, and then some other friend was talking to him and he's like, yeah, but I had a machine gun mod where it just killed everything. It's like, the whole conversation dies. It's like, well, we didn't have the same experience at all. What do you mean? That's not fun. It takes it away. He's like, oh, shit, well. And then that person's like, I had the same as you. Like, this is so easy to understand. I don't know why we're pretending like it's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, players are extremely good at optimizing the fun out of their own experiences by trying to finely tune them, because they just settle for something really convenient that's easy to get into and easy to interact with. It takes away anything special about what it was, but it's really convenient.
Yeah. I was thinking about using chess as an example, like a non-video game example of a game, and like I find it difficult. There's a lot of moves, and but that kind of that fact opens up this huge array of like possibilities of like gaining the upper hand over your opponent. And it's like, if you were to come along and say, "Oh, chess is too hard. I don't want to play this," and it's like, well, yeah, go play checkers then. Like,
well, and you know what Jim's response to that would
like
be is, okay, fine, if you found it too hard and your dad was like, okay, we'll play it so that all the pieces only do what a pawn can do to make it nice and simple. It's like, that should be okay. And it's like, I mean, no, it's not, that's not okay. You're not playing chess anymore. That's it, it's a different game at that point.
Chess is a good example for that.
Yeah, it's like, I don't like the rules of chess. It's like, well, this is the game, these are the rules, take it or leave it. And in the case of Sekiro, it's like the amount of health the enemies have and how much damage they deal to you, those are part of that game's rule set. So it's just like,
I think chess is so one of the problems I have with the discussion about difficulty in video games is that I think that the arguments in favor of all games should have an easy mode tend to forget that video games are pretty different. An easy mode for Devil May Cry is very different than an easy mode for Mario, because they are fundamentally different games with different challenges that they present you with. One game could just have the enemies have more health, or your weapons deal less damage. That's one and the same thing. You take more damage when you get hit. Maybe they have like more forgiving parry times or something in a game. Like these are all options that you could implement that pretty easily reduce difficulty. What do you do in a game like Crash Bandicoot, which is built around very rigid platforming challenges where you just need to clear the jump? That's it. You need to be able to clear the jump.
Adds more platforms, ability to shorter distances.
Well, so that's kind of the problem. Is once we start talking about adding more platforms or whatever, how much is enough? How much should the challenge be reduced? How much should it be allowed to be reduced? And is that line to the point where you can just completely curtail every challenge? There are no bottomless pits. There are no enemies that can kill you. It is impossible to fail. by just not running forward and completing the level. And at that point, have we not stripped the game of all of its like merits from a gameplay design standpoint anyway? What is there to say about it if that's something that can be done? Difficulty is not something that can just be difficulty settings rather are not something that can just be easily mapped onto every type of game, and pretending that that's the case to me seems either dishonest or like indicative of a really shallow perspective on what video games are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of getting good, which is fine so long as the process of
Stop
getting
denigrating
good
the concept
is
of
actually
improving at a
fun
craft
for the player. If the game isn't enjoyable until after you've gotten good, then people probably ain't going to give it a chance.
Well, what
That's
does
where
what does
Dark Souls-
enjoyment mean though? Like, what do we mean when we say enjoyment? Because let me tell you, I was not enjoying losing to Orphan of Kos like in the 7th hour. That was not enjoyable in the broad, I guess, what you would conventional sense. But if I had beaten him instead of not finishing that game, I probably would have been really thrilled. And a lot of what would have made me thrilled was the pain, the difficulty of getting there. When you say that a player is enjoying a game or not enjoying a game, it feels a little bit. Sometimes the enjoyment comes from the times that you weren't having as much fun, when it was getting
enjoyment
really
isn't just you
challenging and
going
were getting
woohoo
frustrated.
and smiling at the screen.
The learning process is its own fun.
This is
journey,
somewhat
man.
tangential.
Getting
and
better.
It's a tin of
Yeah.
worms,
Overcoming
but games
adversity.
don't have to be fun. They don't have to be fun at the expense of everything else.
Engaging is often what I'll say instead of fun,
Yeah.
because fun is generally regarded as a certain, a very certain, a particular sensation, but being engaged in something and wanting to focus on it and feeling the desire to improve at it, it's different than fun. It's a kind of enjoyment, but
That's what you
it's
said
different.
about horror games. Like if someone said I wasn't having fun playing Amnesia, I was terrified. Is that a bad thing? Like no,
Right.
That's how.
I remember
be-
I distinctly remember Total Biscuit. I remember it was one of his like top 10 games list, and one of the games that he had as like a special mention was Spec Ops: The Line. He said this game is not fun. Like, this is not a game I would describe as being fun, but it was a valuable like experience. It was an experience that I considered to be worthwhile, but it wasn't fun. And the way
The mechanics and encounter design in Spec Ops: The Line are arguably bad. They're not very good at all, but the story is incredible.
mediocre. But
I would say mediocre. But that's the point he's appealing to, is that like fun is a word that describes certain things. It doesn't describe this game, but it doesn't mean that this game is bad or not worthwhile. It offers something that isn't. The games being fun. Fun is just. I think fun is a word that is generally applicable, but there are these exceptions in terms of games that provide something. Like, is Papers, Please a fun game? Like, is that a game that would be described as a fun experience, But it's a valuable experience. It offers something really worthwhile that only video games can provide. There's a lot of examples like that. And so, maybe the word fun is kind of like, generally when we talk about video games, fun is applicable. But, there's a different, more all-encompassing description of what a video game can offer. That means that sometimes you have experiences that aren't so fun, whether that be because of the subject matter of the game, or I guess in this case, a difficult experience that starts getting maybe even frustrating, and then you finally overcome it, and that catharsis is like unparalleled in terms of what any other medium of entertainment can offer.
I think the enjoyment that you take from a video game can depend on like the mood that you're in the moment as well. Like, recently I finished the Kirby game on Switch, Forgotten Land. Even on the games, what the game calls wild mode, which is like hard mode, I guess, I found that quite easy. But I enjoyed that in that moment. Like, it was a very breezy playthrough, and that's what I wanted at that moment. I just kind of wanted to zone out and not have to think too much. I wasn't in the mood at that point to play something like Dark Souls, where I would get easily frustrated. Like, in that situation, I wouldn't get enjoyment playing Dark Souls. But there's other days where absolutely I'll play Dark Souls, and even if I die a billion times with a boss, that's okay, because I'm in the zone for that kind of experience right now,
Thus, we arrive at the Chad centrist take, which is, you know what? There is room in this world for games that are trying deliberately to be easy, like Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And there's room for games that are deliberately trying to be challenging, like Bloodborne. There's room in the world for both of these games.
Well, here's another funny thing about that.
For different reasons.
German's going to talk to us about humor.
Games to chill out and just zone out and play that. Actually, Dark Souls falls under that category for me. Like
really?
when I've did so many streams where I'm just going to boot up Dark Souls 3 and just fuck around because I'm so knowledgeable of the game at some point. And sure, it's still just going to be annoyed at some things because sometimes you guys get stun locked by random enemies. But that's just a game I can just chill out to when I stream it and just talk to chat or something.
Getting killed by enemies. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Maybe rewarding is a more generally a good term, like rewarding and engaging. Like you have the engagement because it's rewarding. Because is it fun for me to micromanage the efficiency of pawns in RimWorld or watch them die to some terrible tragedy? No, it's not fun, but going through that is a rewarding thing to do. Like it's satisfying for me to do certain things in games, especially ones that are colony builders or efficiency simulators or whatever they are. You're not getting a thrill a minute. You're trying to. It's like a Factorio sort of thing.
Yeah. Don't you love it when you get killed by a manhunting pack of chihuahuas?
It's like, yeah,
I got a chihuahua on my lap right now.
I guess maybe the reason why I don't think fun is the right word to describe it is because I think fun can often describe moment-to-moment experiences rather than a longer-term.
Fun is fleeting.
Like, for instance, if you're playing Dark Souls 2, but I still want to kill myself after I did it.
Well, for instance, if you're playing like Sim City, I guess, or City Skyline, like, is it moment-to-moment fun, like building a road? Or like putting the infrastructure in place to support this particular block or zoning it. It's like on a
especially
moment
it feels
to
like
moment
work
basis,
sometimes.
Well, yeah, that's I guess that's what I'm getting at. On a moment to moment basis, maybe not, but the totality of that experience, where the little building blocks lead to something really cool, and then you get that moment of catharsis when you zoom out and you look at this city that you built running really well. And it's just like, damn, that's nice.
This is what
that's
my work has given me. This is the fruit of my labor that I get to look at now. It's very Heinleinian in a sense.
And what happens if the game's like, well, I'm not finding it fun laying down these roads. It's like, well, there's a button that just lays out a perfect grid with everything in place to be perfectly optimized. It's like, oh, damn. Like, that's just,
There's almost... Something like that happened to me when I was playing I've told it before, the Jurassic World Evolution, I think, game, where you're like, World 1, you've got just an average park that's not doing so great, try and make it better. It's like, cool. And then by the time you get toward the end of the game, you've got to deal with this really small park that's been destroyed by a tornado. It's the worst weather conditions, and you've got like 2 T-Rexes running rampant and very little money. Like, holy can you figure it? And it's like, you do all that and you beat it all, and I was like, really?
Like, no, this is a bad investment.
And then the final reward of like unlocking everything is like, now you've unlocked the free play mode. It's giant open landscape, infinite money, go nuts. And I was like, like, so, I don't. Interesting. Like, when it became kind of boring to do that mode, I was like, nah, I'm alright. I'd rather.
Challenges are necessarily limitations, and it's fun to fuck around. Of course, mileage will vary from person to person, but there's that element of if I can just do whatever I want without any cost or anything whatsoever, then it's not necessarily something rewarding to it. I might not enjoy doing it.
The 2 types of Minecraft players.
Something given has no value.
Yeah, like I'll really enjoy both of those types of things, just depending on the day, the mood that I'm in. And the idea that the threat of failure doesn't play a role in enjoying a video game is ridiculous to me. Especially with horror games, like I love like horror games, playing them in the middle of the night, like in the dark with headphones on, with the volume cranked up on like a high difficulty mode, like Dead Space, for example. I was doing that recently. Like, that is awesome.
Yeah, the threat of losing, the threat of loss. I mean, some of the most intense gaming moments that I've ever had are in DayZ, when I'm wandering around and I hear another player's footsteps and I've got all this stuff on me and I've gone on this big trip and I'm like, oh, like this, I could die and lose everything. And it gives this insane, like, hands trembling and you're just focused on the screen. There's nothing else in the universe apart from you and this game that you're playing, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
this intense experience.
Yeah.
And if I knew it was just like, oh, don't worry, it's fine. There's no challenge. There's no threat of loss. There's no, losing state. There's no nothing. Then those experiences, they just would not exist.
Yeah. There's definitely a line for me where it would become too much. Like if a game has like a hardcore mode, for example, where you can't save, and if you die, you go all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I wouldn't.
We're getting
Personally,
now into
that's not for me.
Everyone's own, everyone out there's people out there who adore that experience, and there's people who don't. And so this is why this video is strange to me. Where it's just like it's treated enjoyment as though it's this clear, obvious. Everyone is better off when this is happening. It's like, oh, okay. Also, I had a
enjoyment is objective.
Especially with the direction taken in it, which is enjoyment is best dictated by the terms of each player, which I don't believe is even remotely true.
Yeah,
given the chance, I think given the chance, every single player will ruin their experience in one way or another.
Possible.
I think actually I meant to bring that up with the Dark Souls waypoints. If you had the option in Dark Souls to just turn on a waypoint to tell you where the next place to go was, it would be very hard to resist turning that on if you
shit tons of people,
found yourself kind of lost. But just exploring that environment and trying to find your own way is so satisfying once you find the elevator that links back to Firelink Shrine. It's like, oh, sweet. But if I followed a waypoint that said unlock elevator to Firelink,
so I mean, you're highlighting exactly where all this attitude comes from. If I was watching one of my closest friends play Dark Souls the first time, and then he was like, "Oh, I added this mod that gives me a waypoint that takes me to the next. Ooh, the elevator takes me right back to thingy." I'd be like, "Wow, that's just yourself from enjoying."
Yeah.
Annihilated that moment.
It's funny to me. It would actually be comedic, like if you put waypoints in something like Dark Souls.
I think so.
That would get a big laugh out of me. Yeah.
Isn't that such an interesting type of difficulty in a way? Like
The
finding
waypoint
your way
discussion?
around the world.
Yeah, it forces you to study the environment, and it gives you the shape of the land, and landmarks are giving you clues as to where to go. That's a really interesting way to approach it.
Attaining mastery of a Dark Souls 1's world, man, that's so satisfying.
Yeah,
that's
why
everything links
we're
up,
forever
how to get from A to B.
We're forever desperate that they'll do it again, but Dark Souls 2,
Yeah.
nope. Dark Souls 3,
Do
nope.
it again.
Elden Ring, nope. I guess,
The closest they ever came was Bloodborne.
yeah,
but
Bloodborne was okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite as good as
Bloodborne did okay.
in reference to the way of the map, because Yharnam was pretty good.
Yeah, I was about to say it's the back half of Bloodborne that gets more segmented.
Dude,
Although you could say that of Dark Souls also.
Anytime I watch a friend play through Dark Souls for the first time, and I watch them get closer and closer to shortcuts, I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're gonna be real
I
happy
get
in
so
a second.
excited for them, it's insane.
And if they miss it by an inch, or then
walk into a boss room.
I did it twice on. I think I did it on Elden Ring too, where I'll walk across a bonfire or a grace or whatever, and not even realize. I'd be like, oh god, I could really use a bonfire right now. And everyone in chat's just like,
You keep walking by the shortcut gate, just unlock it.
It's
By the way,
the start of Dark route behind the illusory wall that everyone misses,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I got a
It
notification
makes Sif a lot easier if you have that one though.
It's a Twitter one on my phone. I saw this. I'm getting criticism for the Doc Strange video, which totally makes sense. Somebody said,
Not to get it. No, not that one.
Somebody said 5 hours and 50 minutes. Jesus, get a job.
That shit's ridiculous. Where the review is longer than the film. If a film is 2 hours, you only have 2 hours to talk about all of its problems. Because as we know,
what a stupid rule. Yeah,
it isn't. The person who said this is retarded, but as if we don't live in a world where fixing shit takes longer than breaking it.
Yeah.
But, what do they imagine my job is? Do they hello?
Yeah.
I was cruising through Cinema Roberto's Twitter thread on it, and it was hilarious. I actually really enjoyed reading through it.
I mean, it could be 10 hours long. It just depends how much detail you want to go into everything, and that's worthwhile.
Oh, they're getting me to the point where if someone just made a 10-hour video and they're talking just about somebody's shoe, I'd just be like, fine, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Go nuts.
This weird
This guy's bio.
This is
writer, byline, CBR, Polygon,
There's this weird
Anifim,
sentiment out there where it's like, oh, if you do X amount of time, you just ramble and get redundant. It's like, why? Why are you thinking that? Because I don't think you watched the video when you said that.
Do you know why people wrote books?
I don't know what you mean.
You know?
know what you mean.
You're making that up.
A long while to explain.
I like James has said, I do construction. I know how long it takes to fix shit. I do like the whole, like, it took you how long to build this house, and you're holding a grenade. Like, let's see how long it takes for me to. Like, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do something else to it. It's like, oh no.
Is actually fun for the player. If the game isn't enjoyable until after you've gotten good, then people probably ain't gonna give it a chance.
Not true at all.
I don't think that's
also not how it works.
Also, that's fine.
So many people
getting good.
That's totally fine, by the way, as an
first-
experience. If you're like, this is too difficult for me, I'm not interested. That's fine.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's fine.
It explains the
fine.
Play
complete lack
something
of
else.
popularity of the Dark Souls series. Yes.
But if
Nobody's
you-
playing Dark Souls.
But if you look at Elden Ring, so many people picked up their first Soulsborne game with Elden Ring, and there was a lot of people like, "Oh, it's too hard for me. I don't mind." But there was probably more, if not the exact amount of people who are like, "Oh, this is great. I understand it now. That's good shit." Because it's all a journey, and getting good is a really good experience. As much as it's memed, getting good at those games is awesome.
Yeah, so
I don't
people
think
who
super
mock get
satisfying.
good, it's like, oh, you're mocking the concept of getting good. I don't have to listen to anything you say.
Yeah.
You're just.
I know he's
you
just being dumb, but it's not the process. It's not after you've got good you start to have fun. It is the process of getting good that people enjoy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
Yeah,
what
we're
I was
gonna
gonna say. 'Cause he keeps saying after, but that's not
As
the
if
thing.
there's
Like
some like
after you've gotten
barrier
good,
to entry.
Yeah.
like that's not the main point of enjoyment. Like that is also fun. Like me replaying the game and
Yeah,
shitting
and then
on the boss that I've played for hours is
just-
still fun to me. But the biggest fun is the first playthrough. Like nothing
Yeah.
beats a first playthrough of a Souls
So
game. Like
good.
holy shit.
And then after that, you can go ahead and just try different things. But how many flavors of Dark Souls 3 did you do when it came out? It's like a million.
A lot.
Come on. Because I remember he was like, "Oh, this time I'm going to use this weapon, and this time this weapon." It's like,
Yeah.
what are you doing all these things? Stop it.
I did the same with Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Hello, you just listened to a segment of the podcast Every Frame a Pause, or EFAP. Hosted by YouTubers Mauler, Rags, and Fringy, and joined by a cycling variety of guests across the internet, they critically analyze media with exhaustive detail while pausing at every single frame. Subscribe to the EFAP channel and catch new episodes on Saturdays, as well as catch their smaller videos reacting to the latest and not-so-greatest movies and TV shows throughout the week. You can also subscribe here to EFAP highlights for the latest shorts, clips, and supercuts, also uploaded throughout the week. Links to all the relevant channels can be found in the description section below, as well as links to their communities on Reddit and Discord. Thanks for watching.